The mother at the factory gates. The sky above Colony Delta was gray, not from clouds, but from smoke, machines, and dust. Every morning the alarms rang at 6, factory doors opened at 7, and by 8, the gates were full of workers, mostly human, all quiet, all tired. But today one figure stood out, not because she spoke, but because she didn't move, even when they told her to. Her name was Thalra. She stood just outside the iron gate, her back straight, arms tense. Her skin was pale blue and her eyes glowed softly in the shadows. Beside her stood her daughter, Kalani, small, silent, with hands holding her mother's torn coat tightly. Thalra didn't beg, but her eyes spoke everything. "Please, I just need a job." The guard at the gate frowned. He didn't look at her, just at the datapad in his hands. "No record, no clearance. You're not on the approved list." Thalra nodded once. "I can clean. I can fix pipes. I worked in war salvage before. My hands are strong, I don't need much." The other guard scoffed. "She's Tarzan," he muttered. "Didn't we fight her kind 5 years ago?" "I was a nurse," Thalra said quickly, "then a technician. Doesn't matter," the first guard said. "Factory doesn't take aliens. Not anymore. But I have a child." She tried. "Everyone has something," he said coldly. "Move along." Kalani pulled at her mother's coat. "Mama, let's go." But Thalra didn't move. Her eyes were fixed on the heavy doors ahead. Behind them she could hear the sounds of work. Machines, voices, hope. Just one chance. That's all she needed. Then someone behind the guards spoke. "Let her in." The guards turned. A man in a dark gray uniform stood there. Grease stains on his sleeves, a small tool belt on his hip. His face looked tired but not cruel. His name was Evan. "Shift manager," one guard muttered. "She's not on the list," the other said. "I'm allowed to approve one new worker each quarter," Evan said. "She's mine." The guards hesitated. "You sure?" He looked straight at Thalra. "Yes," then down at Kalani. "And she stays with her." An hour later, Thalra stood inside the storage wing, holding a mop and a pair of old boots. Kalani sat quietly in the corner with a datapad and a biscuit someone had handed her. Evan didn't say much. He just showed her where the supplies were, where not to stand, where it was safest when the heat vents kicked in. "Start here," he said, pointing at the oil-stained floor. "Careful near the pipes." She nodded. Then, before he walked away, she said, "Thank you." He paused, then replied softly, "Just don't give them a reason." That night, Thalra worked alone while the others went home. No one spoke to her. Some workers stared, some frowned. One or two laughed, but she kept her eyes on the floor, on the mop, on the work. She finished her shift at midnight. Her hands were sore, her feet blistered, but she smiled faintly when she saw Kalani asleep on the bench, the biscuit crumbs still on her shirt. She wrapped her daughter in her coat, lifted her gently, and walked home under the cold lights of the Colony Street. No one cheered, no one clapped, but she had something she didn't have yesterday. A job. Hook ending. Back at the gate, the two guards leaned against the wall, watching the security feed. One of them grunted. "She won't last a week," the other smirked. "Maybe. But did you see Evan's face?" "What about it?" The first one narrowed his eyes at the screen. He didn't look like a man doing a favor. He looked like a man who'd already made a choice. A broom, a stare, and quiet bread. Every night, after the main shifts ended, Thalra cleaned the storage corridors alone. No greetings, no jokes, just silence. The floor smelled like hot metal. The lights flickered, the pipes hissed, and still she worked. Her daughter Kalani sat on a crate nearby, legs swinging, datapad in hand. She never complained, but she never smiled either. It had been 3 weeks since Evan, the human shift manager, gave Thalra a chance. He hadn't spoken to her much since. He didn't watch her, didn't protect her, He just made sure the door unlocked when she arrived, and every night, there was a sandwich waiting for her. No name, no message. Just wrapped in paper, left on the metal bench where she kept her gloves. At first, Thalra didn't touch it. She thought maybe someone left it by mistake. But the next night, there was another one. Then again. Always fresh, always wrapped, always placed gently. She never saw who did it. But she had a guess. The other workers were colder. A few passed her in the halls and muttered words in Terran. Some called her alien cleaner. Others just looked away. But one woman, a human mechanic named Riva, made sure to bump Thalra's mop every time she passed. "Oops," she'd say with a grin. Thalra said nothing. She had learned long ago. Silence is safer than pride. One night, near the end of her shift, Thalra found the sandwich as always, but this time there was something else. A folded napkin, with a message, written in soft, careful handwriting. "You don't owe anyone silence." She stared at the words for a long time, then folded it again and tucked it into her pocket. The next morning, while Kalani was still asleep, Thalra sat on the edge of her cot and pulled out a small metal box. Inside were 4 things. A faded photo of her late husband, a broken necklace, her old ID badge from the Tarzan Repair Corps, and now, the napkin. Her fingers shook slightly as she touched the corner of the note. Something was changing. She didn't know what. But it wasn't fear. Not anymore. The next night she finished cleaning early. As she washed her hands in the sink, she saw Evan across the hallway, speaking quietly to the supply officers. He didn't notice her, so she stepped forward. Just one word. "Thank you." He turned, paused, then walked over slowly. "For what?" She held up the napkin. His eyes widened just slightly. Then he said, "I'm not the one who left it." She raised one brow. He smiled faintly. "Okay, maybe I am." She asked, "Why?" He looked around, then answered, "Because I hate seeing people pretend they're invisible." They stood in silence. Then he added, "You worked on engines before?" "Yes, plasma lines, cold flow valves. I was part of a salvage team during the border war." "You should be doing more than mopping floors." No one asked. "I'm asking now." The next night, he brought her to Repair Bay 9, a broken corner of the factory no one cared about. The cooling unit had failed. No one wanted to fix it. Thalra studied the mess for 5 minutes, then rolled up her sleeves. And by morning, it worked better than ever. Word spread fast. Too fast. The whispers started again. "She's fixing things now." "Why her? She's just playing human to stay safe." One voice was louder than the rest. "Riva." She stormed into the break room and threw a wrench on the table. "You really think she's special, Evan?" He didn't answer, so Riva stepped closer to Thalra. "Better know your place, widow." Thalra stood slowly, but Evan spoke first. "She is special. You just don't like being reminded of it." Hook ending. The next night, someone turned off the oxygen filter near Bay 9. Thalra found the leak, fixed it in under 6 minutes, saved 3 workers, but the next morning, security accused her of sabotage. Hands that build again. The oxygen filter should have failed completely, but it didn't, because Thalra was there. She'd just finished cleaning near Bay 9 when she smelled something strange. Hot metal, thick air. Her training kicked in before she even realized it. She grabbed a wrench from the wall, tore open the vent panel, and found the cracked valve hissing white mist. Not broken by time. Sabotaged. By the time the engineers arrived, she had sealed it with a spare clamp and reset the emergency failsafe. No alarms, no dead workers, no disaster. But the next morning, 2 security officers dragged her out of the storage wing without a word. Evan ran into the hallway just as they cuffed her. "What is this?" he demanded. "She tampered with the oxygen lines," one of the guards said flatly. "We found her prints on the access panel." Evan blinked. Of course you did. She fixed it. The other guard shrugged. Her prints are there. Case closed. Micah's voice grew sharper. You're arresting the woman who prevented an explosion? She's not licensed, the first guard snapped. She wasn't authorized to touch the system. Thalra didn't fight, didn't scream. She only looked at Evan and whispered, Please watch over Kalani. Kalani waited in a side room holding a small bag of rice and 2 coins Evan had slipped her earlier. She didn't cry. She didn't ask questions. But when Evan sat beside her, she quietly said, They're lying. Nodded slowly. I know. That night Thalra was questioned, locked in a gray room with no windows, no lawyer, no translator, just sharp lights and hard questions. Why were you near the panel? Why did you touch it? Did someone order you to sabotage the system? You answered every question the same way. I saw danger, I fixed it. By morning she was tired, cold and bruised, but not broken, and that's when Evan walked in, flanked by one of the plant's safety officers. He dropped a tablet on the desk. Play this, he said. The guard hesitated. Now, Evan said, louder. Video played. Low quality, but clear. Footage from a forgotten hallway cam near Bay 9. It showed someone, Riva, walking toward the valve system hours before the leak. She wasn't supposed to be there. She had a wrench and a smirk. The guard stared. At the screen, then at Thalra, then back at Evan. Where did you get this? It was archived, Evan said. Hidden in the secondary relay. I asked one of the maintenance kids to help dig it up. She'll deny it. Evan's voice was ice now. Try. And then explain why Thalra saved the entire wing when Riva walked away whistling. By noon, Thalra was released. No apology. Just silence. But when she stepped out into the corridor and saw Kalani waiting with open arms, she smiled. That afternoon, Evan brought her to the upper floor for the first time. No mops, no broken pipes, just a chair, a desk, and an old computer. Engineering assistant, he said. It's not much, but Thalra sat quietly, then looked at him. You risked everything, she said. For me. Evan looked at the wall. I didn't risk anything, he replied. I did what was right, that's supposed to matter. That night the other workers didn't say much, but none of them bumped her. None of them called her names. One even nodded as she passed. And for the first time, Thalra felt like she belonged. Just a little. In the corner of the break room, Riva watched her from behind a mug of black tea. Her jaw was clenched, her voice barely a whisper. She thinks this is over? She turned to another worker and hissed, Let's see how long the human keeps choosing her, when it starts costing him everything. The trial in the break room. That same evening, Evan was called into the operations office. 2 officers from Central Management sat behind a gray desk. Their expressions were blank, cold, professional. One of them slid a folder across the table. We've received reports, Mr. Evan, she said. Serious ones. Evan didn't blink. Let me guess, Thalra, again. The second officer nodded. She's accused of tampering with equipment, again. And this time, they say you're helping her. Evan leaned forward. Do you have any proof? No, but enough complaints trigger an internal review. You're suspended, pending investigation. When Thalra heard, she dropped her wrench mid-shift. You're suspended? She asked, voice shaking. Evan just nodded. They want me quiet. You too. She looked down. You helped me, and now they're punishing you. He shook his head. No, they're scared, because the lie doesn't hold anymore. Kalani held her mother's hand. Mama, are we leaving? Thalra didn't answer. Not yet. The next morning, a message pinged across every worker's communicator. Mandatory meeting break room. 18 and colony time topic. Employee conduct review. It wasn't a meeting, it was a trial. At exactly 18 rang, the break room was full. No laughter. No casual chatting. Everyone sat in tight rows, eyes forward. At the front, the two officers stood with a small projection screen behind them. On it were blurry images, error reports, and a list of incidents. Thalra sat alone in the front row. Her hands were still. Her face was calm. Evan stood at the back, no badge, no title, just a man who'd chosen to stand beside someone when no one else would. The lead officer cleared her throat. "We are here to review the actions of worker Thalra, Tarzan race, and the conduct of shift manager Evan, now suspended." A few heads nodded, others looked away. Riva sat near the middle, smiling. The officer continued. "We have reports of unauthorized repairs, possible equipment manipulation, and I'd like to speak," Thalra said softly. The officer stopped. "You'll be given a chance. I speak now," Thalra said louder. Her voice echoed. Strong, clear. The room held its breath. Thalra stood. She reached into her coat and pulled out something small, a folded cloth with metal pins, old, scratched, but still, marked with Terran military symbols. "I served on Mira 7 during the war," she said. "In the engineering corps, my unit saved 3 Terran vessels before being overrun." She opened her shirt sleeve and showed her forearm, scarred from burns. "I lost my husband in that war. I lost my home. And then I came here, asking for work. Not revenge. No one moved. No one breathed. I cleaned floors while people spat near me. I fixed pipes while they laughed behind me. I stayed silent, because I thought survival meant shrinking." Her eyes moved to Evan. "Then one human left bread on my table. One human listened, and I remembered something." She turned back to the crowd. "I am not weak." Silence. Then, clap. One person, then another, then more, until the break room echoed. With applause, even a few humans stood. Riva jumped up. "This is emotional manipulation," she shouted. "She's distracting you from her sabotage." Evan stepped forward from the back. "No. You tried to frame her, twice, and I have the footage." He held up a small disc. Security feed. Riva's face drained of color. The officer took the disc, watched it silently. After a long pause, she spoke into her mic. "Clear Thalra's name. Reinstate Evan. Effective immediately." Riva tried to protest, but 2 security guards were already moving toward her. Thalra sat back down. Kalani ran into her arms, and Evan simply nodded. "Still standing," he whispered. Thalra smiled. "No. Now. I'm walking forward." Later that night, as Evan helped Kalani fix a broken toy near the lockers, Thalra returned with a datapad. "There's a new offer," she said. "A position from a top firm off-world head engineer." Evan raised an eyebrow. "You're leaving?" "I want to say yes," she said, "but not without you." The contract she never expected. The offer came on a silver datapad, real badge, real rank, real pay. Chief Systems Engineer, Cinera Core Industries. Thalra read the message twice, then a third time. She stood near the east wing of the factory, the same place where she once mopped oil off the floor. The air smelled cleaner now, or maybe it just felt different. Behind her, Evan leaned against the wall, arms folded. "That's a big offer," he said. She nodded. "The biggest I've ever had." "You should take it," he said without thinking. She didn't answer. Inside. The message were 4 simple lines. Full benefits, housing for 1 adult and 1 child, paid relocation to Lunar Dock. Start date, 5 days. It was everything she dreamed of. Everything she deserved. And yet, her eyes stayed on the last line. "We were impressed by your story, but we can't guarantee space for your human friend." Later that evening, Thalra stood on the rooftop garden near the worker barracks. Kalani was chasing light bugs across the gravel paths. Her laughter echoed into the dark. Evan stepped beside her. "You've been quiet," he said. She handed him the datapad. He read it, then smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Well, you earned it." She looked at him. "They don't want you." "Not a surprise," he said. I don't look good on their success posters. They only want the survivor, not the one who helped her survive. Evan looked out at the colony lights. Then, go, make it count. Thalra turned toward him. You always disappear when you think you're protecting someone. Evan chuckled softly. I learned from watching you. She held out the datapad. Come with us, we'll find a way. But he shook his head. They don't want me there. And if I go, they might find a reason to take it away from you. I won't let that happen. He looked at her for a long moment, then quietly said, You deserve more than someone who holds you back. The next morning, Thalra packed her old tool bag. Kalani folded her drawings into a small folder, excited. Will Mr. Evan meet us at the dock? She asked. Thalra knelt down beside her, tying her boots. No, sweet one, she whispered. He's not coming with us. Kalani's face fell. But he's part of our story. Thalra smiled softly. Yes, and because of him, we get to write a new chapter. At the colony port, Thalra stood near the platform with her bag, in one hand and Kalani's in the other. The ship waited, the future waited, but her eyes stayed on the crowd behind her, waiting, and finally, there he was, Evan standing just at the edge of the checkpoint, arms crossed, boots dusty as ever. She walked up to him slowly, held out a small envelope. Inside, her old ID badge, scarred, bent, still glowing faintly. You gave me bread when no one would look at me, she said. Now I'm giving you a name that means something. He nodded once, swallowed hard, and said nothing. The ship lifted into the sky. Kalani pressed her face to the window. Thalra closed her eyes and whispered, We'll return when the world is ready for both of us. Back at the factory, a new manager walked into Evan's old office. Clean desk, empty chair, on it sat a note. She was worth everything I lost, and that's why I didn't lose anything at all. The manager read it and frowned. Who was she? No one answered. But the legend had already begun. The girl who watched everything. The new city on Lunar Dock 5 was quiet and silver, built into the side of a crater. The windows showed stars instead of clouds. The ground felt too smooth, too clean. But Kalani didn't care about stars. She missed Evan. She missed his clumsy way of tying her boots, his bad jokes, his quiet smile when he handed her a new drawing pencil without saying a word. Her mother, Thalra, tried to stay busy, learning new systems, adjusting to her new role. But Kalani watched. She always watched. One night, after a shift, Thalra found her daughter sitting at the table with a datapad in her lap. Sweet one, it's bedtime. Kalani didn't look up. I made something. Thalra stepped closer. On the screen was a video. A simple one. Clips she had secretly recorded. Back on the colony, Evan standing in front of guards. Evan fixing the vent to make sure the heater worked in winter. Evan giving Thalra bread when no one else would. Kalani had titled it, The Human Who Helped Us Stand. Thalra knelt beside her. You saved these? I watched everything, Kalani said quietly. I remembered it all. Tears welled in Thalra's eyes. This is beautiful, she whispered. Kalani looked at her mother. Can I show it to people? Thalra hesitated. Why? Because they think we got here alone. The next day, Kalani uploaded the video to the colony network. It spread faster than Thalra expected. At first, just among the dock workers, then to local news circuits, then to the original colony. Within 48 hours, the video had a new title. Alien. Widow given a chance by the human they fired. Back on the dusty colony, workers gathered in break rooms to watch it. One clip showed Evan helping Thalra fix the coolant panel. Another showed him standing between her and an angry supervisor. The Xiao final image was of his note. She was worth everything I lost. Within days, messages flooded the network. Why was he fired for helping her? We need people like him in charge. Where is Evan now? Thalra received an unexpected message, not from Lunar Dock, but from the Central Council of Workers. Just as they had seen the video, they had read her file, and now, they wanted to correct a mistake. Later that week, Thalra called the number from the message. The council rep said, "We'd like to rehire Mr. Evan and offer him a lead position." Thalra asked him why now. The voice on the other side replied, "Because your daughter reminded us what real leadership looks like." That night, Thalra found Kalani sketching on her pad. She sat down beside her and said, "They want to give Evan his job back." Kalani blinked. "They do?" "Yes." Kalani smiled. "Will he come here now?" Thalra's voice softened. "We'll ask him." Far across the stars, on the edge of the old colony, a small courier drone landed near Evan's workshed. It carried a silver envelope with just 3 words. "It's time. Come home." Evan opened it slowly and smiled. The new shipyard with old hearts. The new shipyard on Lunar Dock 5 wasn't the biggest. It wasn't the most advanced. But it had something the others didn't. Heart. The walls were painted with murals, drawn by children from different worlds. Some showed stars, others showed hands helping hands. One painting near the entrance showed 3 figures: a tall human, a blue-skinned mother, and a small girl smiling between them. Evan stood in the middle of the repair bay, holding a data pad, and shaking his head. "You organized the entire inventory by color, Kalani?" Kalani grinned from the top of the tool bench. "It's prettier that way." Thalra laughed from across the room. "Don't fight her, Evan. She runs this place more than both of us combined." Evan smirked. "I've noticed," after the council offered to reinstate him. Evan had packed up quietly and traveled to Lunar Dock 5. He didn't ask questions. Didn't expect applause. He just walked back into Thalra's life like he had never left. Only this time, he stayed. The new shipyard quickly became known as the Bridge Dock, because it didn't just repair ships, it repaired trust. Humans and aliens worked side by side. No slurs, no stares, no locked doors. Everyone earned their place. Everyone had a voice. Thalra ran the engineering wing. Evan oversaw training. Kalani handled color-coded logistics and wrote stories in her spare time, most of them based on real people. Especially 2 of them. One day, a nervous figure stepped through the front gate. Thin, covered in travel dust. Eyes wide with fear. She was an alien woman, young, holding the hand of a small boy. Her voice shook. "Please. I just need a job." The workers nearby paused, looked at Evan, then at Thalra. Thalra stepped forward, held out her hand, and smiled. "Tell me what you know. We'll find a place for you." Word of the shipyard spread across the sector. They received messages from other colonies asking for advice. "Can you help us start something like this? Can your model work on Terra Prime? Do you take volunteers?" One night, as the stars glowed brighter than usual, Evan and Thalra sat on the rooftop of their quarters. Kalani was asleep inside, clutching a new sketch pad. Evan looked up, at the sky. "I never thought it'd feel like this." "Like what?" "Like peace." Thalra nodded. "I never thought peace would have a face." He looked at her. "You mean mine?" She smirked. "No, Kalani's." He laughed, then paused, then said softly, "You changed everything." Thalra reached out, took his hand. "No, we did." Outside the shipyard gates, a new message was etched into the wall. Not in Terran, not in Tarzan, but in both. Side by side it read, "When no one else would give her a chance, one human said yes, now they open the door for everyone."